Hey everybody, it feels like it's been a while since I've talked to you all, but I don't, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. My computer's been in the shop, so fun times. So today I wanted to just talk about the rustling you hear is my cat losing her mind over something. I don't know what. Emily? She's okay. So, first of all, I want to thank you for your discussion board posts. I love how you all, well, I mean, it's kind of required, the responding to each other's posts, but I love how you bring in different articles and blog posts, just all kinds of stuff that are not our, it's gonna make me laugh the whole video, that aren't are part of our required reading, but you're finding these out on your own. Particularly one that stood out was about the, it seems like so long ago, but it really wasn't, when the Seattle Public Library allowed a TERF, anti-trans group to use their meeting room. If you didn't catch that, go back to last week's readings and check those out. I believe Jen posted that. Am I correct about that? I was just going through and seeing what everybody's been posting and checking out some links that I can use for future classes and also to share with you all. As I said in my post yesterday, if you have anything you would like, if you see something out there in the news, because sometimes I don't know if I reinforce this enough. Public libraries are often neglected. I mean, it's getting better. Often neglected in research. So a lot of what we have to draw on is practitioner articles. Nothing bad to say about those, but research, really healthy research, could do a lot to benefit the LAS community and the profession. Emily's getting closer. Okay, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I spoke to Maggie a little bit yesterday, and I wanted to highlight a couple of LAS organizations, or I don't know, some organizations is the right word, associations, but there are different ways to engage. If you're Black, Indigenous, person of color within the LAS profession, you are not alone. There has been a lot, I'm looking at some of my books, there's been more and more published. Please don't fall books. There's been more and more published. Like, this is one that was published a couple of years ago, Pushing the Margins, Women of Color and Intersectionality in LAS. I use one of the readings in my 501 class. If you had that, then you read from that book. And also The Librarian Stereotype. Am I going to risk this? It's also another that does talk about people of color working in LAS. But those are just a couple of books. There are more coming out. I only have so much book budget, so I do a lot of ILL from the library. But I was going to highlight We Here. I'll post some links. I'm trying to get better. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos during the pandemic. So I'm working with Adobe Premiere Pro to pop it up. So you'll see, I don't know if you watch as many YouTube videos as I do. But so you'll see the little link right there in the screen. But failing that, you'll see the link at the bottom. There's We Here, which is a fantastic group that started in 2016, but they've really gotten going. They've really got going now. They do a lot of monthly seminars. some that are specifically for Black, Indigenous people of color, and some that are open to anyone. They have a Patreon account, and I pay money. I pay every month to subscribe to that and just to support the work they do, because it's really great. So some of it is available for anybody within LAS that wants to learn more about what it's like to be a person of color in the LAS world, and not just libraries, archives, museums, galleries. Did I already say archives? IT professions, anything. We're a broad spectrum. So there's We Here, which is phenomenal. There's also the Joint Council of Librarians of Color. I've heard amazing things about this conference from so many librarians, from librarian friends. And the next one will be hosted in October 5th through 9th in 2022, which is probably pretty wise of them, in St. Pete, Florida, which, if you haven't been to St. Petersburg, Florida, I lived in Florida for a while during grad school, and it is quite lovely. So besides the conference, it's also a great place just to get away during October. But within LA, whether or not you have strong feelings about ALA, I know ALA has come under some fire, understandably so, but there's several ALA ethnic affiliates. There's the American Indian Library Association, the Asian Pacific American Library Association, the Black Caucus of the American Library Association, Chinese American Librarians Association, and Reforma, the National Association to Promote Library and Information Services to Latinos and the Spanish speaking. So I'll post all these links. So if you're an ALA member, you can add that to your registration. I know as a student, if you join ALA, you can get a pretty nice discount, because it only gets more expensive when you're not a student. I milked that student discount for as long as humanly possible, believe me. I think it goes for about 5 years, and then you start having to pay the professional fee, which there's a lot to say about how expensive ALA can be, but that's another rabbit hole to go down. Emily's doing some yoga. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. I was reading about this in Public Libraries magazine, and of course, close to my heart is the mental and medical health support at the Evanston Public Library. And Evanston is not too far away from Milwaukee, and I also have a close friend who lives there. So I really need to go visit, because they started off by, I scanned this entire feature, and I'm going to post it for, if you would like to read it. You're not required to read it, but it's a quick read. But they began by hiring a part-time social worker and some social workers, students who were within the field of social work, and now they have a full-time social worker that helps people who are struggling with Social Security, with homelessness, dealing with different aspects that right now within the pandemic, it's really hard to get that person-to-person connection and find help, because you get dropped on so many calls. I've been dropped on calls to the government and other associations, but I think it's a good read, and especially when they talk about mental health programming. They have a Trauma 101 event for that brings in therapists from the Children's Advocacy Network. They also talk about looking at everything through an equity lens, and also staff training, which I'm always really fascinated by. Like how do you train, since we aren't counselors, we're not therapists, we aren't trained that way. Like how do you support staff in supporting the public and supporting each other? So that I would highly recommend that read. It's just a couple pages. If you're a member of PLA, then you get this automatically, so maybe you've already read it. Recently, I was asked to, well, not so recently, it's been a while, I gotta finish this book review. a trauma-informed approach to library services. I really enjoyed reading this. I mean, as much as you can enjoy reading about trauma, but it relates a lot to the work I do in mental health, because trauma is definitely part of mental health. As somebody with PTSD, I know how I know what it can be like when you're on the job and you're triggered. But so I'm trying to find the best chapter to, I think, the trauma-informed library environment. It would be really great for you all to read. And again, these are supplemental readings. You don't have to read them, but I think they would be a really great, just a really great asset to your own personal knowledge, and something you may not read in another class. Another faculty member mentioned I should, if I get tenure, develop a class that's very focused on mental health, trauma, critical librarianship, and the connection between all of that as an elective, because these are things we're just not talking about. And Madison does actually, University of Wisconsin-Madison, their iSchool does have a continuing education course on trauma. My friend leads it, and she does a phenomenal job. I've been sneaking readings from her, but yeah, it's a continuing education course, so I think it runs about a month and a half. So instead of that, for us, maybe I could develop an elective. This will probably be in a couple years when you all are graduated and off to wonderful careers. Yeah. So, what else to talk about? This video is only 12 minutes. Please let me know if you have any questions about the upcoming assignment. We have the state library brochure. This is something I think wanting for you all to use your creativity. If you go and look at the assignment now, I updated it yesterday with some examples from other state library brochures, and some of them they also offer a PDF of it, but some of them have moved to make the brochure like a website. So you can choose how you'd like to present it. It doesn't have to be like and still many librarians do those folded brochures that you have at the front desk that people can pick up. Those are still around, and you may find yourself being one of the people that don't know if you can hear the snowblower, but it's getting intense over on the east side. Where did I go with this? This is why I should not record these videos at my desk, which faces the entire street, so I can see everything that's going on. But yeah, moving on from that. Oh, the state library brochures. Now they've moved digital, of course, but I still like the idea of the whole paper folded ones. But I challenge you. I do not use rubrics in my class because my mentor, my doctoral advisor, didn't use rubrics. She was very, not anti-rubric, but I think that it puts limitations on what you can and can't do, and really stifles some of your creativity. And I want you to be as creative as possible and come up with ideas that maybe are outside of the box, because sometimes I feel like rubrics, you just want to check off the little list. There's pros and cons to rubrics. I know for many students, having a rubric is a great thing, because I mean, you know exactly what's expected, and I hope that within my assignment description it gives you an example of what exactly is expected. But I also want you to feel that you can be creative or be a little bit different than any other brochure. Maybe make it more engaging, or make it make it electronic, connect it to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever your library might use, or whatever the state library might use. And also right now with this program, with this activity, you're actually thinking about the patron too. Like, what would they like to see in a brochure? What would benefit them the most? Not just what you as a librarian want to portray in a brochure, what you think is the most important information, but what maybe just an average patron, what would they like? What would they like to see? So, so I showed you a couple books. These are all on a student budget. I understand not being able to purchase these. I have slowly built my collection of LAS books, and some of them the university pays for, which is very kind. I also have a couple other books that I'm looking at. There's a Deconstructing Services in Libraries that just came out that I got, and I'm slowly making my way through it, so I might pull a chapter from that. I just want you all to have some really current information from practitioners. Some of the articles that are in the required reading are a little bit older, and it doesn't mean they're necessarily out of date or they're not applicable to what you might encounter in the public library, but it does really show you how public librarianship is kind of viewed in the field a little bit. I mean, you can look at academic librarianship, research, practitioner, like a lot of this is academic, mostly focuses on academic librarianship, as does this. There's so much that we're missing out in the public library. This is much more public library focused, because these are, you'll encounter trauma, mental illness, homelessness, all kinds of things as an academic librarian, but as a public librarian, you certainly will see your fair share of just the world, and you want to do what you can to help, because LAS is a field that my southern accent sometimes comes in to play here. It's a field that is, I don't want to say we're do-gooders. We want to do the best we can, but we can't solve all the problems in the world. Like sometimes we get cast as the saviors of communities, and that's just not possible, given our budgets, given staffing, given a whole lot, given training, given what's going on in MLS programs, what we're taught there. Just a whole sequence. There's just a lot going into it. And if you would like to talk more, please add some comments. If you disagree with me, perfectly okay. Critical thinking. If you have some books you'd like to recommend or articles to recommend, please do so. Let's see. We're just chugging along on this semester. Sometimes I have to remember to breathe and pause when I'm presenting. I'm trying to think if I was going to talk about anything else. I try to keep these relatively short, because I know you don't want to sit there and watch 45 minutes of me blabbing on about something. But I think these are all important. And I'll post the link to the article in Public Libraries. I'll post the links to We Hear and the Joint Council of Librarians of Color, and all the different affiliate links that are there for students of color. I mean, there's a lot of scholarships. If you're a member of ALA, or even if I'll highlight scholarships through SOIS, but within these individual affiliate associations, there are great scholarships for students of color. So please take advantage of those, because I've been on enough scholarship committees to know that people don't apply, and I don't quite know why. I mean, I know we're all busy. There's a lot going on. There's a pandemic going on that's draining and takes a lot of our mental energy and just motivation. Or at least I've been there. But do apply to scholarships. And there's grants that when you're a librarian, or when you work in a library, you can apply for those. There's just all sorts of financial. Well, yeah, she made an appearance. There's all sorts of ways you can make the system work for you. So I just always try to remember to make sure students know about the scholarships that are out there. And as I see them, and as we get further along in the semester, I'll highlight a lot, especially the SOIS ones. Because apply, please. Let's see. Anything else? I got nothing. Yes, going through the notes in my brain. But please leave some questions in the comments or just your thoughts. I really appreciated that you all, this is what I need to do. Really appreciated that you all commented so many of your books. I was astonished. I put a lot on my to be read list, which is already quite long. And I think I probably mentioned it in the other video, but there's also Net Gallery is a great way to get ARCs if you can read digitally. I'm trying to get better at it. You can get advanced reader copies of lots of books. I think I showed it last week, my Jenny Lawson advanced reader copy, and I'm such a major fan of hers. And there's also Edelweiss, which is specifically for librarians in the library community. And you can also try to get some through Library Thing. I'll post some of those because all of you appear to be readers or at least interested in reading, and it also gives you an idea of what's out there, new stuff coming out. So those are just a couple of ways to get free books. And free's just the best way to get a book. Especially before anybody else has read it. It's very exciting. So in closing for this one, what have you been streaming or watching, or what movies have you been watching? Bonus if it's based on a book or a series or anything in the literature realm. So what have you been watching? I think we all need, Emmylou, let's not. I think we all need a little bit of entertainment and recommendations. If you're up in the Midwest with me, it's cold, so we're staying inside a lot. It's very, very cold. But please let me know what you're watching. Movies, TV shows. I've been basically watching a lot of YouTube, to be honest. Stuff on minimalism and decluttering, because I'm getting into that. And Emmylou's gonna say goodbye because she's gonna knock down my coffee, and just wants to say, why do I always have to do this when you are recording? We don't know. So, and if you want to post more pictures of your pets, please do. I always love that. So take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.